Ava. Go back to your room.
If I do, are you ever gonna let me?
Some movies grab you by the eyeballs and take you for a wild ride. Once they get their little movie hooks into you, it's game over. More than most, horror thrillers will do just this. There's something about a movie equal parts terrifying and exhilarating that makes it impossible to avert your gaze, and once that fever pitch is reached, there's no turning back. Some of these define generations, others are hidden gems that deserve a wider audience, and some are critically lauded but generally underappreciated. Hopefully by telling you not to look away, you land your gaze on some of these incredible flicks. Hello horror heads, and welcome back to the Scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host Keegan Hughes, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 horror thrillers you couldn't look away from. What's that? You want more horror movie lists? Well, look no further than our top 5 scary movies playlist right over here. Wicked! Let's get going. Coming in at number 5, we've got Ex Machina. Alex Garland doesn't often miss when it comes to exciting, razor-sharp horror movies. He wrote 28 Days Later, he directed Annihilation, and of course he's the mind behind Ex Machina. Maybe not considered a pure horror by the more discerning of spooky movie viewers, but it's definitely packed full of thrilling and terrifying moments. And once it gets going, it does not stop. But before it does any of the insane stuff promised, it lulls audiences into a sense of false security. Gorgeous vistas, a believable yet intriguing cover story, a cast of characters that definitely have some secrets. It's all set up for you to fall easily into the story, but then everything changes. Things get weird, like weird, and violent. Seriously, if you haven't seen this movie, go in knowing as little as possible. Watching it unfold will have you at the edge of your seat, and some moments will knock you to the floor out of nowhere. We follow a lonely tech dude as he wins a contest at work and gets flown out to his eccentric boss's woodland retreat. Here he meets a robot woman imbued with some extremely advanced AI. Turns out vacation actually means helping find out whether a sexy machine lady can pass the Turing test or not. When you leave a lonely tech worker alone with a beautiful and seemingly totally innocent robot woman, what do you think happens? Romance, intrigue, plotting, murder? Oh baby, what a wild ride. Coming in number 4, we've got Bird Box. The breakout Netflix hit of 2018. There was a time when I thought people would talk about this movie forever. It was that popular. And for good reason too. It was a tense, scary thriller set in a fascinating post-apocalyptic world. Based on the novel of the same name by Josh Malerman, we follow a woman trying to protect her children from the terrifying monsters that have essentially taken over the world. If anyone sees one of the creatures, they will immediately commit suicide. The horrid visages of the beast drive people insane immediately, forcing them to end their lives. So everyone has adapted in order to survive. Lots of folks go about their lives blindfolded in order to avoid contact with these terrors. However, the unknown isn't the only threat. There are people looking to make things that much worse for survivors, adding all sorts of new concerns for post-apocalyptic life. It's a struggle for survival on multiple fronts across a 5-year gap. Mallory, the woman with 2 children, is shown at 2 different points during the end of the world, at the very beginning and 5 years later. Both scenarios are nightmarish, with the early days requiring survivors to think and act fast with no previous knowledge related to the unseeable entities, and the later days showing that people are willing to tear down protective norms. Of course, the addition of children raises the stakes too. Tense and shocking, Bird Box is a horror thriller that will have you at the edge of your seat, or bed, or yoga mat, as it is a Netflix movie after all. Coming in at number 3, we've got The Orphanage. Equal measures scary and sad, The Orphanage is a phenomenal work of art. J.A. Bayona directed it based on a script by Sergio G. Sanchez with some assistance from the one and only Guillermo del Toro. 30 years after being adopted, a woman named Laura returns to the orphanage where she grew up. Her husband Carlos and adopted son Simon come with her. As Laura and Carlos discuss reopening the orphanage, Simon starts acting weird. He says he's made friends with a boy with a sack mask. Creepy occurrences compound as Laura stumbles upon a mystery from years ago. A social worker shows up and attempts to take her son away. Soon after, Simon does indeed disappear, and there aren't a whole lot of clues as to how this happened. Ghosts make appearances and tensions run high. It's a slow burn, but there are moments of sheer terror. Of course, the human story at the core of it all is the most important factor here. It adds layers of grief and fear that wouldn't have existed if it were a straightforward scarefest. And of course, you can't be sure of anything. The suspense that runs through this flick is backed up by the unreliable main character. Sure, Laura is a loving mother and an entrepreneurial spirit, but she's also plagued with guilt after strange events transpired following her exit from the orphanage as a child. Plus, it's light on jump scares, heavy on atmosphere. There are a few shocking bits, but it largely relies on that dark and creepy feel it's set up. Just make sure to take a very deep breath before starting. Coming in number 2, we've got The Birds. We've talked about suspense in the other flicks on this list, so now let's talk about a man who knew suspense inside and out. Alfred Hitchcock knew how to make movies unlike anyone else. Throughout his illustrious career as a filmmaker, he gave plenty of quality advice about what makes a movie work. Of course, the most memorable of his tips had to do with suspense. Like the difference between a surprise and suspense, a bomb going off versus a bomb ticking underneath the table as folks go about their activities. Or how knowing that someone might be late for their train can make a taxi ride that much more interesting. Or maybe by slowly introducing a whole bunch of lunatic birds to a story of social intrigue in a small coastal town. Considered by many to be the last great Hitchcock thriller, The Birds does a lot right. It presents the audience with a cast of characters so caught up in their own personal dramas they fail to realize what was going on around them until it's too late. It tells a story with seemingly no way out, dooming the folks on screen. It even manages to make birds exceedingly scary, which I honestly never even considered. Actually, once I got chased by a defensive mama bird, so maybe I did know they could be scary on a deeper level. But still, Hitchcock managed to terrify the nation with a film about killer birds. There are many analyses and theories as to what the movie's really about, ranging from Cold War fears to anti-feminist ideologies, but in the end, none of that truly matters. What does matter is the fact that it's a thrilling and often terrifying journey that is worth taking more than once. And finally, at number 1, we've got The Silence of the Lambs. See, I bet a bunch of you were waiting for me to leave this one out so you could leave some indignant comments down below. Well, fret not, save those incensed words for the next mistake I make. Dr. Hannibal Lecter's triumphant escape takes the top spot. It's hard to imagine a more iconic, more complete thriller. A young FBI trainee is thrown into the fire as she reaches out to the cannibalistic genius in order to track down the skin suit obsessed Buffalo Bill. The Silence of the Lambs expertly employs mystery and suspense in tandem, giving small insights into what's actually going on behind the scenes while Agent Starling desperately searches for answers. There's never a dull moment as Lecter helps Starling in exchange for information on herself, all the while planning an escape of his very own. Plenty of moving parts make for some thrilling sequences, but the movie never feels bogged down by the different tales it's set up. You're invested in Starling's success and safety, as well as Buffalo Bill's capture, in addition to the brilliance of Dr. Lecter. The crowning achievement here has to be the cross-cut sequence where FBI agents are convinced they've found Buffalo Bill's hideout. They set up a perimeter around the house as Bill panics at the realization that his dog has fallen down the well with his next victim. The scene gets more and more tense and it starts to look like they're gonna bring the serial killer down. Too bad though, because the tactical squad is actually at the wrong house and Agent Starling is the one flying solo at the real hideout. This sequence doesn't get your blood pumping, I don't know what to tell you. A true classic in every sense of the word, The Silence of the Lambs is essential horror thriller viewing. What a wild ride, huh? There are plenty of righteous horror thrillers to watch out there, but hopefully your backlog is a little more focused after watching this video. Do you agree with the list? What makes a horror thriller impossible to ignore? Did I miss any important ones? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more shaky ones from the top 5 most clever kills in horror movies. Kevin Owens says the sentient monster truck horror movie I think the other person was referring to was Maximum Overdrive. Probably, yeah, but have you seen the trailer for the 2016 box office bomb that was Monster Trucks? Some studio execs have it too easy. Michelle McLean says, he said caffeinated and my body immediately said, go make a cup of coffee, stupid. I think I have a problem. Why make a cup when you can make a whole pot? Really rev that engine. Jonathan Weston says, Keegan, did you glue your face to one of the men on the bodybuilding magazine behind you? That's more horrifying than all the kills on this list, but not the raid ad. I don't know if you'll believe this, but it wasn't me who glued it on there. Tate Van Cleve says, wow, I really need to step up my game. My kills seem lame and rather ho-hum in comparison. Shake my head. I promise the next 10 or so will be so creative they'll make a movie out of it. Most likely a romantic comedy. I don't know how I feel about inadvertently inspiring a serial killer to up their game, but hey, maybe they'll make a movie about me doing that. And 23-2 says, dot. Uh-oh, is this one of those online curses? Am I doomed? That's how it goes. And that's all the time we have for today. Before I jump backwards up the stairs at top speed, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more moving movies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hiring a serial killer to, I don't know how I feel about inadvertently inspiring a killer. I don't know how I feel. This is interesting, wow. There's something about something equal. Coming in at number 5. Ooh, that was weird. But before it does any of the insane stuff, whoop, with no previous knowledge related to the forward scarefest. And of course, you can't be stupid. There's never a dull moment as Lecter helps Starling in exchange for information on herself. Oh, let me try that one again. Can we scooch back up a little? Thank you. There's never a dull moment as Lecter helps